The dynamic duo are back. Will this fifth album be much like their first two, or will it be like the last two albums and be just kind of meh? Well, let's find out. Five by Blackfield. So Five is the fifth album from Blackfield, or you can just probably call it Blackfield 5. The first two albums, the debut album of just Blackfield and Blackfield 2, hold some very, very beautiful, and I almost want to call it like anti-pop music, and it's being held by Steven Wilson, the mastermind behind, Porcupine Tree, his own solo work, No Man. I mean, this guy really doesn't need too much of an introduction. The one that does is the counterpart, the second of this duo, and that is of Aviv Geffen. And he is a Israeli songwriter, producer, and that kind of thing. And I think that's how the two met. And as I said in the beginning, I find with Blackfield, it's a very hit and miss. The first two albums were stellar. I love the first album the most, but I actually enjoy the second album's songs more. Blackfield 3, or Welcome to My DNA, and Blackfield 4, they didn't really hit their mark with me. I felt like there wasn't too much sticking on the wall. The music that they were bringing was very similar to the first two albums, but where the first two albums hit me, these two just kind of flew past. I felt myself being almost bored with the music, and I think mainly that was just I was having a hard time connecting. Coming into 5, we now are, we've got two great albums and two meh albums. Like, I was looking forward to this, but I wasn't holding my breath in, experiencing another classic Blackfield album. But what I get is kind of a middle ground between the two. I find myself wandering a little bit on this album, especially at some of the lower points, because there are a number of lower points on this album, but it isn't to the extent that the last two albums were. There's a lot more to grab on and to hold on to on this album. And I think part of that is the unification that a lot of these songs have. There's definitely an overall concept of family, of loss of family, as well as of like the sea and being on a beach. You're in the middle section of being land and sea. I'm going to dive, actually, pardon the pun, into the music a little bit more, because I like how this album is opened up with just a drop in the ocean. We've already got established that ocean metaphor here. And all it is a string movement with the ensemble of the London Session Orchestra. And the next song that comes in is The Family Man. And now we have that metaphor, or that symbol of family and what it really means. Is it just a wife and kids, or a husband with kids? What does it really mean to be a family man? And is that something that we want to aspire to be? And I like how the theme within A Drop in the Ocean is reprised in A Family Man, but instead of being strings, we have more of like the harmonics within the vocalizations. And one thing that I do love about Blackfield, and this is across their entire discography, is the harmonizations between Aviv and Steven. They have a very similar singing style, and so when they harmonize and they vocalize in that respects, it's very well done. Now, unfortunately, the next couple of songs, the How Was Your Ride, We'll Never Be Apart, and Sorries, they don't quite hit me as much, and I'm feeling more towards the last two albums with these guys. And I think a part of this might just be, it wasn't really following the concepts of the album that the first two songs have been presented. I mean, We'll Never Be Apart is at least catchy enough, and that's where that, I almost said like anti-pop at the beginning, because it is still structured in a poppy type of styling. It's like the songs are no longer than 4 minutes, and when they are, it's the exception. The songs themselves have a very simplistic structure within them. You've got the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. But the music that's being presented is much more intimate, and it's almost touching on, say, like an adult contemporary or an indie scene. And that was definitely felt within those three songs of How Was Your Ride, We'll Never Be Apart, and Sorries. Where I really pick up and I really start connecting is on that sixth track of Life is an Ocean. This is where we feel that concept of the ocean, and we really feel it on it. I love how the vocalizations on this feel as though they're underwater. I can really visualize that ocean and everything that's around it. And so I always kind of look forward when this song is coming up. it's interesting because the next song of Lately is a little bit of a switch. Like I find like these two songs of Life is an Ocean and Lately, I feel like they're the same coin but different sides of this band. Life is an Ocean is much more of that mellow, calm, kind of reflective. The Lately is much more of an upbeat, up-tempo version. Hearing the guitars again after so much strings is actually kind of a breath of fresh air in that respects. Now, unfortunately, we do have one of my nitpicks about Blackfield, and that's found on October. Sometimes it does become a little bit too melodramatic and almost becoming corny and cheesy. And this is definitely found within October, where he's saying, you know, if you see me crying, don't pity me. If I'm sad, you know, I'm just really, really sad. And I feel like it's a little too over the top. I think they could have dialed it down just a little bit. I know that a song like this is needed in a presence of Blackfield, so it's not that much of a critique. It's just more of a, okay, here it is. And The Jackal and The Salt Water. I enjoy these songs for the same reasons that I enjoy Life is an Ocean and Lately, in that The Jackal is a little bit more up-tempo, it's a little bit more lively, the guitars are really pumping and really getting going, but it's Salt Water, that concept again of the ocean, where it's just the instrumental within the guitars that really makes me melt. Like I really, really enjoy this song because, again, like Life is an Ocean, I can just clearly see the waves and clearly see like just the vastness of this ocean. Now, the last two songs, Lonely Soul, I'm not sure if I like it as much as I want to. What I do like is like this concept, because they keep saying like everything in chaos, everything is broken, and it's painting this picture of a very chaotic landscape and this like broken, and everything is just mishmash and you can't make sense of it. Yet the song itself is very orderly. The vocalizations within the female harmonies is just meticulously thought out to the nth degree, where there's no room for chaos. And the actual presentation of the song is very poppy and accessible. So I like that juxtaposition, and so maybe that's where they're seeing that disorderly disorder, where they're seeing the chaos within this perfection, and that I really enjoy.
Everything is broken, everything is chaos, everything in me. I'm a lonely soul, everything is.
And finally, the last song of From 44 to 48, this is definitely a Steven Wilson song. Like, it's almost a paint by numbers Steven Wilson song at times. It reminds me of like mid Porcupine Tree era, like a Stupid Dream or Lightbulb Sun kind of a feel. And it's that guitar work. And when I was listening to it, I was almost thinking, welcome back, guitar that I had missed from that mid Porcupine Tree era. We have that concept of, you know, the family man. What does it mean to be a family? And we follow the narrator as he's almost depicting his rise and fall within his own family. And I really enjoy it that this is what closes the album off. So overall, I would say Blackfield V is a win over the last two albums, but not quite as good as the first two. This is probably that Venn diagram right between the two. It's still one that I would recommend checking out. If you're a Blackfield fan, then definitely check this out. If you are a Steven Wilson fan, Porcupine Tree, No Man, any of his like side projects or solo career, I would still say probably check this out. For an overall rating, I do see where the band needs to improve still, and I feel like they're still kind of trying to work themselves out of the comfort zone that they have placed themselves into, and I hope that they do that. So it's because that I would still recommend streaming this album. It's definitely still worth a listen and definitely worth your time. So that's about it for Blackfield V. What did you guys think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, let me know by commenting below. Also, let me know what is your favorite Blackfield album. I'd like to hear about that. Again, as I said in the beginning, my favorite's number 1, even though I enjoy the songs from number 2 even more. So let me know of your own decisions down below. And thank you guys, as always, for watching. You guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.
From 28 to 30.